Hello and welcome back to the Striha Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Parker Striha, and on today's episode, I'm going to be making my way too early bold predictions for the 2023-2024 NFL season. I'm by no means professional, but I do love talking about sports, so thank you for joining me. Just a quick disclaimer, most of these are extremely unlikely to happen. They are predictions for a reason, and some of these are kind of crazy, but like I said, I'm just kind of throwing things out there. I don't necessarily think they're going to happen, but they're things I would like to see happen. And, well, it sounds kind of counterintuitive to what I just, or contradictory to what I just said. I can see some of them actually happening, but we'll just kind of jump right into it. I got 10 of them, and I'll kind of talk about each one as I go, but I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on any of them. Number 1, the Detroit Lions will win 10-plus games and win the NFC North. Now, I think this is extremely possible. The NFC North is going to be wide open. Chicago sucks, to just kind of put it bluntly. I don't think the Vikings are as good of a team as their record showed this year. And Green Bay, I don't exactly know what's happening with them, with Aaron Rodgers. Currently, his future kind of in a cloud of darkness. No pun intended at the time of recording this. But I think the Lions are an extremely talented roster, and they're only going to be getting better. I think they are a team to look out for Lamar Jackson this offseason, or another big, like even a Derek Carr. I don't think they'll go for Derek Carr, but I can see them making moves this offseason to really put them in serious contention, and I think it's their division to lose this coming season. Number 2, I have Jalen Hurts winning the NFL MVP. Now, he was a finalist this year. Patrick Mahomes won it, but I think Jalen Hurts is going to come back extremely hungry next season after not only not winning MVP, but not winning the Super Bowl, and by losing both of those to Patrick Mahomes. I think this Eagles team is going to be hungry. They're going to want to win that Super Bowl while their window is open, and they're going to have the talent to do it. And I think Jalen Hurts, if he stays healthy, is going to have an MVP caliber season, and I think he ultimately ends up winning it. Number 3, I have Ezekiel Elliott being the Buffalo Bills' leading rusher. I really think that the Cowboys are going to end up cutting Ezekiel Elliott soon, and I think the Bills are a team to look out for to potentially swoop in and sign him. I don't think he's going to be super expensive because he's going to, I think he's going to want to go to a team on a 1 or 2 year deal, show his value, show that he can still be an elite running back, and he's going to want to go to a contender. The Bills, I don't really like what they have at running back, and I think if you can get a guy like Ezekiel Elliott, if you can get him back to 2016 to 2018 Ezekiel Elliott, he can take a lot of pressure off the shoulders of Josh Allen, and he can add another dimension to that offense that they haven't had since they've really started being competitive lately. And I've never really been a fan of Elliott, but I do think he kind of needs a year on a team like the Bills to prove that he's still got it, despite Tony Pollard kind of taking his spot in Dallas. But I can also see the Cowboys not getting rid of him solely for the fact that Tony Pollard, I think, tore his Achilles or tore his ACL or something at the end of this last season. So they're going to need someone who can start games for him. And I think Elliott's future is kind of up in the air, but I can see him being cut and going to Buffalo. Number 4, Jordan Love will start 17 games for the Green Bay Packers. I think as soon as Aaron Rodgers' darkness retreat is over, which will happen before this video comes out, I ultimately think he's not going to be coming back as the starting quarterback of the Green Bay Packers next season. I love Aaron Rodgers, and if he ends up getting traded, I'll probably make a video about it. He's one of my favorite players of all time, despite all the news stories about him, despite all the criticisms you can have of him. I love him as a player. I think he's great, but I think Green Bay is kind of done with him. I think they're ready to move on to Jordan Love after drafting him in the first round a couple of years ago. Number 5, Max Crosby will lead the league in sacks. This is kind of an out there one, but Max Crosby, elite defensive end for the Raiders, has gotten better every single year. And this season, he showed that he is one of the best in the league. And I think next year, as long as that team can stay healthy, they're going to be competitive. And I think Max Crosby is going to be a catalyst to whatever sort of contention that team is going to have. And I think he's going to put up a career year, and I think he's going to lead the league in sacks. Number 6, Patrick Mahomes will pass Kurt Warner, Steve Young, and Jim Kelly on the NFL's all-time passing touchdowns list. Now, he's going to need an elite year to do it, but Mahomes is the guy that can do that. He needs 45 touchdowns to tie, I believe it's Jim Kelly, and then 46 to pass Jim Kelly, because Jim Kelly is the highest on the list of those other three those three quarterbacks that Mahomes will be passing. So he needs 46 to pass all three of them. And I think of any quarterback in the league, Mahomes is the guy that can do it. Number 7, Cooper Kupp will come back from injury and lead the league in receiving yards for the second time in 3 years. Fortunately, last season he had some injuries that kind of held him back, but I think he's going to come back, and regardless of who their quarterback is, whether it's Matthew Stafford or whoever their backups are, they're going to feed him the ball, and I think he's going to make the most of every single one of those opportunities, and he's going to show that one season where he led the league in every major receiving statistic wasn't a fluke. He's going to prove that he is one of the best receivers in the league. Number 8, ironically, number 8 is Kyle Pitts, who wears number 8 for the Falcons, has a career year with 1,200 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns. I think if the Falcons can get a good quarterback in, I don't like Mariota. I'm not sure how I feel about Ritter, but if they can get a guy like Lamar Jackson in, who we've seen in the past loves to throw to the tight end position, get him an athlete like Kyle Pitts, and I think Kyle Pitts is going to show the league why he was drafted as highly as he was a couple years ago, and he's going to have a career year within every major receiving statistic. It's going to be receptions, yards, and touchdowns, and he's going to show he is one of the best tight ends in the league. Number 9, the Washington Commanders will fire head coach Ron Rivera by week 10. I don't think their roster is good, and I think if they start off really slow, Rivera is going to be the scapegoat. They're going to just fire him and kind of blame it all on him, despite the roster not being great. Now, I might be wrong. They might make some major upgrades to that team this offseason, but I don't really see it happening. And unfortunately, I do believe Ron Rivera will be fired by week 10. I guess we'll see if that happens. And lastly, number 10, Jalen Ramsey will be traded to the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals have the money to take on his contract. I don't know how that's exactly going to look after they pay Joe Burrow this offseason, but Ramsey is going to want to go to a contender, whether he's cut or traded. And this trade they'll probably end up giving up their first-round pick, which is number 28 overall, and maybe something else. And if you're the Rams, you take that deal. You need picks to improve your roster, and I think doing so, shipping him to an AFC team that you're not really going to be facing that often, if at all, for the next however many years, it's kind of the best case scenario. The Bengals get better. That can really help that move. Ramsey can really help shore up the backside of that defense, and it can help give them a stronger push for the Super Bowl. But as always, I'm your host, Parker Striha, and this has been the Striha Sports Podcast. Our random sport fact of the day is that Ben Wallace and Dikembe Mutombo are tied for the most Defensive Player Awards in NBA history with 4. As always, thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to hit that notification bell for whenever a new video gets posted.